The Great Council Chamber was bigger than any sports stadium on Earth. Its walls were made of special crystal that showed the light from thousands of stars. The ceiling curved high above, disappearing into shadows that seemed to move on their own. In the center of this massive room sat the great table, carved from a single piece of black stone that came from a dead star. Ambassador Kim Hyuna straightened her dark blue uniform as she walked toward the human section. Her shoes clicked softly on the polished floor. She had trained for this moment for years, but seeing the actual council chamber still made her heart beat faster. "First time seeing it in person?" asked Captain Park Dong-yeon, walking beside her. He was the head of security for the human delegation, a man with gray hair and sharp eyes that never stopped moving. "Pictures don't do it justice," Hyuna replied, keeping her voice professional. Inside, she felt like a child seeing the ocean for the first time. They reached their assigned seats. The human section was modest compared to others. Some alien delegations had floating platforms, others had pools of liquid methane, and a few existed in contained energy fields. Humans just had chairs and a table, though they were made from earth oak, a small reminder of home. Around them, aliens of every shape and size were taking their places. The Vortanians floated in their metal shells, looking like giant light bulbs, filled with blue electricity. The Klaxians skittered on 6 legs, their compound eyes reflecting the chamber's lights in thousands of tiny points. The shardlings clinked as they moved, their bodies made entirely of living crystal. "Look at them all," whispered Commander Choi Tae-yeon, the youngest member of their team. "It's like every science fiction movie came to life. Remember your training," Dong-yeon said quietly. "They're watching us just as closely." Hyuna nodded and activated her translation device. Immediately, the chaos of alien sounds became understandable words. Dozens of conversations filled her ears. Most were routine diplomatic chatter, but she caught several mentions of the human problem. A deep vibration filled the chamber. The High Chancellor of the Vortanians was calling the session to order. Its form pulsed with brighter light as it spoke. "Welcome, representatives of the Galactic Council. We gather for the 857th Peace Summit to maintain harmony among the stars." The formal greetings took almost an hour. Each species had its own ritual. Some sang, others released specific chemicals, and a few performed intricate dances. When Earth's turn came, Hyuna stood and gave a simple bow, as humans had done for 5 decades since joining the council. "We come in peace and friendship," she said. The traditional human greeting. She noticed several delegates exchanging looks, not friendly ones. The High Chancellor's energy form shifted to a deeper blue. "Today, we must address concerns about the rapid expansion in the Orion sector. Here it comes," Hyuna thought. A Klaxian delegate rose on its hind legs. Its translator made its clicking sounds into words. "The council recognizes Ambassador Ziegtel of the Klaxian Hive." "Fellow beings," Ziegtel began, his multiple eyes focusing on the human section. "For 50 Earth years, we have watched humanity spread across the galaxy. At first, we welcomed them, but their growth has become troubling." Hyuna kept her face neutral, a skill she had perfected in years of negotiations. "They colonize planets we deemed uninhabitable," Zito continued. "They adapt to environments that would kill any other species. They breed faster than projected models. They learn our technologies and somehow make them better." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Hyuna noticed several species nodding in agreement. The shardling representative chimed next. Literally, its crystal body rang like wind chimes as it moved. "The humans established mining operations near our sacred nebulae. When we protested, they claimed they were in unclaimed space, because it was unclaimed," Admiral Lee Min-jae said from beside Hyuna. She touched his arm gently. "Not yet." More complaints followed. The aquatic Bendithi complained about human underwater colonies. The gaseous Nyx protested human stations in their cloud territories. Each grievance built on the last, painting a picture of humanity as aggressive expansionists. Finally, the High Chancellor raised a tendril for silence. "Ambassador Hyuna, how does humanity respond to these concerns?" Hyuna stood slowly, making eye contact with as many delegates as possible. "Honored representatives, humanity has followed every council law. We've colonized only unclaimed worlds. We've respected all established borders. If we've succeeded where others haven't, it's not through aggression, but adaptation." Adaptation. The word came from the serpentine Nyx ambassador, drawn out like a hiss. Such a simple word for such a dangerous trait. "Dangerous?" Hyuna kept her voice level. "How is survival dangerous?" "Because you survive everything," the Nyx replied. "Radiation that kills others makes you stronger. Gravity that crushes others makes you adapt. Isolation that drives others mad makes you innovate. You are the only species that sees a hostile environment as a challenge rather than a barrier. The chamber fell silent. This was the heart of it, Huna realized, not territory or resources, but fear. Pure, simple fear of what humanity might become. The High Chancellor pulsed with shifting colors. Perhaps it is time to discuss. Safeguards, safeguards. Minjae couldn't stay quiet anymore. You mean restrictions, Admiral, Huna warned softly. But the damage was done. The word hung in the air like a bad smell. Not restrictions. The High Chancellor said carefully. Agreements, understandings, frameworks for peaceful coexistence. Huna felt the mood in the room shift. This wasn't a negotiation anymore. It was a trial. And humanity was the defendant. What kind of frameworks? She asked, though she suspected. She already knew. The Klaxian ambassador clicked his mandibles. Limits on colony ships. Observers on human worlds. Shared technology instead of independent development. Population controls. Added the Shardling. Military size limits. Said the Bendithi. Each suggestion felt like another bar in a cage. Huna took a deep breath. The Council is suggesting we accept limits that no other member species has ever faced? No other species has ever grown so fast or adapted so completely. The Nyx ambassador replied, You are unique, humans. That uniqueness requires unique solutions. The human delegation exchanged glances. 50 years of membership in the Galactic Council. 50 years of following the rules. Of contributing technology and knowledge. And now this. I need to consult with Earth, Huna said finally. Of course. The High Chancellor agreed. We will reconvene tomorrow to discuss specific proposals. As the session ended and aliens filed out in their various ways, the human delegation remained seated. They're afraid of us, Tae-yun said in wonder. They should be, Minjae muttered. Huna stared at the great table. This symbol of galactic unity and cooperation. For the first time, she wondered if humanity really belonged here at all. Send a priority message to Earth, she told Dong-yun. Tell them the situation is worse than we thought. They don't want to negotiate with us. They want to contain us outside the crystal walls. The stars continued their eternal dance, indifferent to the drama unfolding below. Among them were human colonies, human ships, human dreams. Tonight, Huna wondered if those dreams were too big for this council chamber. Tomorrow would bring answers. Tonight, she could only prepare for whatever came next. The galaxy watched, and humanity was about to make a choice that would change everything. 3 days had passed since the first meeting, and the Grand Council chamber felt smaller with each session. The crystal walls seemed to press inward, trapping the human delegation in a web of impossible demands. Ambassador Kim Huna sat at her desk in the human quarters, reading through the latest proposals. Each page made her stomach tighten. The restrictions weren't just limiting. They were designed to cripple humanity's future. They want to put observers on every human colony, she said, looking up at Admiral Lee Minjae. Not just diplomatic observers, military ones, with full access to our defense systems. Minjae paced the room like a caged tiger. His uniform was wrinkled from 3 days of non-stop negotiations. It gets worse. Look at page 47, Huna flipped through the document. Her eyes widened. They want to limit our FTL drives to type to specifications. That's Stone Age technology. Our ships would take months to reach nearby systems. Keep reading, Minjae said grimly. The list went on. Population growth limited to 2% per decade. No new colony ships without council approval. All human technology developments to be shared immediately with the council. Military forces reduced by 60%. Trade routes controlled by alien inspectors. This isn't a peace agreement, Huna whispered. This is surrender. The door chimed. Commander Choi Tae-yun entered, his young face showing signs of stress. Ambassador, Earth just responded to our update. The president wants to speak with you directly. Huna moved to the secure communication room. The holographic projector hummed to life, showing President Sarah Chen and the Earth Defense Council. Ambassador Huna, the president began, her voice tight with controlled anger. Is this report accurate? They want to essentially make humanity a subject species? Yes, Madam President. The restrictions would set us back 100 years, maybe more. General Rodriguez, head of Earth Defense, leaned forward. What's their justification for this? We've followed every council law. Fear, Huna replied simply. They've run projection models on human growth. In 200 years, they predict we'll outnumber any 3 species combined. Our adaptability terrifies them, so they want to clip our wings before we can truly fly. The president mused. What happens if we refuse? Huna had been dreading this question. Complete isolation. No trade, no diplomatic relations. They'll lock us out of the galactic community. The Earth Council erupted in angry voices. Huna waited for them to quiet. There's more, she continued. They've hinted at military enforcement if we refuse and continue expanding. Silence fell over the connection. They're threatening war. General Rodriguez asked quietly. Not directly, but the implication is clear. President Chen stood, her decision made. Ambassador, you have full authority to negotiate the best terms possible. But Earth will not accept slavery, no matter how politely it's presented. The connection ended. Huna looked at her team. They all understood what this meant. The afternoon session was the worst yet. The restrictions had been formalized into a treaty called the Human Limitation Accord. The name alone made Huna's teeth grind. These terms are non-negotiable. The Vortanian High Chancellor announced. Humanity has 48 hours to accept or face complete isolation. From Council space, non-negotiable, Huna stood, her diplomatic training barely containing her anger. You're asking us to accept second-class citizenship in a galaxy we've helped build. The Klaxian ambassador clicked his mandibles. You've built too much, too fast. This is for the stability of all species. Stability. Admiral Minjay couldn't stay silent. You mean your comfort. You're comfortable when humanity knows its place. The Shardling representative chimed in, its crystal body ringing with agitation. Your admiral proves our point. Humans are too aggressive, too ambitious. These limitations will help you learn proper behavior. Huna felt something snap inside. Heard 50 years of being the perfect diplomat, of smiling while aliens condescended to humanity, of pretending they were equals when clearly they weren't. Proper behavior, she said quietly. The chamber fell silent at her tone. Let me tell you about human behavior. We crawled out of the mud of a death world. We survived ice ages, plagues, and world wars. We reached space with chemical rockets and tape holding our ships together. We didn't have ancient ruins to guide us or patron species to uplift us, everything we are. We built ourselves. She walked around the table, addressing each species directly. The Vortanians had FTL technology for 1,000 years before humans discovered fire. The Klaxians were given jump gate technology by the precursors. The Shardlings inherited an empire from their ancestors. But humans? We earned every single advancement with blood and brilliance. The High Chancellor's energy form flickered with annoyance. Your point, Ambassador? My point is that you're not trying to maintain peace. You're trying to prevent competition. You've grown comfortable in your ancient hierarchies, and humanity threatens that comfort. That's enough. The Nyx ambassador hissed. You will show proper respect. Respect is earned. Minjay interrupted, standing beside Huna. And you've just lost ours. The chamber erupted in chaos. Dozens of alien voices spoke at once, their translators creating a cacophony of outrage. The High Chancellor pulsed with bright light, calling for order. Through it all, the human delegation stood quietly, their decision already made. That evening, Huna met again with Earth Command. This time, the entire United Earth Parliament was connected. They won't negotiate, she reported. It's submission or isolation. President Chen nodded grimly. Then we know what we must do. How many of our ships are currently in Council space? General Rodriguez checked his data. 37 vessels, all civilian. Our military forces are already pulling back to human territory. Good. Order all human ships to return home immediately. Begin evacuation of our embassy staff from Council worlds. Madam President, Huna said carefully. Are we really going to abandon 50 years of diplomatic progress? The president's eyes hardened. They abandoned it when they decided we were subjects instead of equals. Sometimes, Ambassador, the most powerful statement is to walk away. Huna thought about all the friends she'd made among the alien species, the cultural exchanges, the shared knowledge, the dreams of galactic unity, all of it crumbling because fear was stronger than friendship. What about our allies? She asked. Some species have supported us privately. They're welcome to maintain relations outside the Council framework. The President replied, but we won't stay where we're not wanted as equals. The call ended, leaving Huna alone with the weight of history on her shoulders. Tomorrow, she would stand before the Galactic Council and deliver humanity's answer. Tomorrow, everything would change. She looked out the window at the alien city beyond the embassy. Towers of impossible geometry reached toward strange stars. Once, this view had filled her with wonder and hope. Now it felt like a prison. Commander Taeyun knocked and entered. Ambassador, the others are asking about tomorrow's session. Huna turned from the window. Tell them to pack their personal items, whatever happens tomorrow. We won't be staying long." The young commander's eyes widened with understanding. "We're really leaving the council. The council left us first," Huna replied. "They just don't know it yet." As Taeyun departed, Huna returned to her desk. She had a speech to write, not a surrender or a plea for understanding, but a declaration of independence. The galaxy thought it could change humanity's destiny. Tomorrow, they would learn how wrong they were. The stars outside seemed colder now, more distant, but somewhere among them were human colonies, free human ships, and a future that no council could control. Huna began to write, each word a step toward that future. The breaking point had come. Humanity would not bend, it would leap. The great council chamber had never been so full. Every seat, platform, and containment unit held occupants. Even species that rarely attended were present. Word had spread through diplomatic channels that humanity would give its answer today. Ambassador Kim Huna walked through the main entrance with her delegation. Their footsteps echoed in the vast chamber. She noticed immediately that security had been increased. Armored beings from various species stood at every exit. They expected trouble. Captain Park Dong-yun leaned close as they walked. "They've positioned guards to prevent us from leaving suddenly. They think we might try to storm out." "Let them watch," Huna replied calmly. "We'll leave on our own terms." They reached their seats at the great table. Huna noticed their section had been subtly isolated. Empty spaces separated them from other delegations. The message was clear. Humanity was already being pushed aside. The High Chancellor's energy form pulsed bright blue, calling for order. "The Council recognizes Ambassador Kim Huna of Earth to deliver humanity's response to the human limitation accord." Huna stood slowly. She had rehearsed this moment in her mind 100 times. Now, facing the assembled species of the galaxy, she felt strangely calm. "Honored delegates," she began, her voice carrying clearly through the translation systems. "For 50 Earth years, humanity has been a member of this council. We have shared our knowledge, opened our markets, and sent our children to die defending council worlds." She paused, looking around the chamber. Many aliens shifted uncomfortably. "We joined you seeking partnership. We followed your laws. We respected your customs. When you asked for help, we gave it. When you needed innovation, we provided it. And now, after 5 decades of loyalty, you offer us chains." The Klaxian ambassador clicked his mandibles in agitation. "The limitation accord is not chains. It is structure, order, peace." "It is fear dressed in diplomatic language," Huna countered. "You don't want peace. You want humanity to stop growing, stop learning, stop becoming what we could be." She touched a control on her podium. Holographic displays appeared above the human section, showing images of human colonies, ships, and achievements. "Look at what we've built together. The Mars terraforming project uses shardling crystal technology. Our medical advances have cured Vortanian energy decay syndrome. Human engineers helped repair the Bendithi homeworld's flood barriers." The images changed to show human children playing with alien youth, scientists working side by side, traders sharing meals across species. "This is what we offered you: partnership, growth, a future where all species rise together. But you prefer the past, where ancient hierarchies remain unchanged and no one threatens your comfortable positions." The High Chancellor's form flickered with irritation. "Ambassador, we require your answer. Does humanity accept the limitation accord?" Huna straightened her shoulders. The moment had come. "No." The simple word fell into the chamber like a stone, into still water. Ripples of shock spread through the assembled delegates. Furthermore, Huna continued before anyone could interrupt. "Effective immediately. Humanity withdraws from the Galactic Council." The chamber exploded in chaos. Dozens of species spoke at once, their translators creating a storm of languages. The High Chancellor pulsed rapidly, trying to restore order. "You cannot," the Nyx ambassador hissed. "No species has ever left the council." "Then we'll be the first," Admiral Lee Minjae said, standing beside Huna. "This is madness," the Shardling chimed frantically. "You'll be isolated, cut off, your trade will collapse." Huna raised her hand, and surprisingly, the chamber quieted. "We choose isolation over subjugation. We choose uncertainty over chains. We choose our own path over your fear." She looked directly at the High Chancellor. "We will honor existing treaties for 90 standard days. This will allow for orderly withdrawal of human personnel from council worlds and alien personnel from human space. After that, all agreements end." The Vortanian leader's energy form darkened to deep purple. "You doom your species to irrelevance. No single civilization can survive alone. Commander Choi Tae-yun stood next, young but proud. We survived alone for our entire history until 50 years ago. We'll survive again. But why? The voice came from the Gentle Reef Collective, a species of peaceful traders. Why choose exile over compromise? Huna's expression softened as she addressed them. Because compromise requires both sides to give something. You ask us to give up our future while you give up nothing. That's not compromise. It's surrender. She began gathering her materials around her. The human delegation stood as one. Wait, the High Chancellor's voice boomed. You haven't considered the full implications. Without Council navigation beacons, your ships will be lost. Without our trade networks, your colonies will starve. Without our protection, you'll face every danger alone. Huna turned back one last time. We navigated to the stars without your beacons. We fed our people without your networks. And as for protection, she smiled. But it wasn't a pleasant expression. We are human. We don't need protection. We are the danger others should fear. Captain Dongyun activated his communicator. All human vessels, initiate withdrawal protocol. Embassy staff, begin immediate evacuation. Across the galaxy, human ships began turning toward home. Diplomatic missions started packing. Trade agreements dissolved into digital dust. The High Chancellor made one last attempt. The Council could reconsider. Perhaps some modifications to the Accord. No, Huna's voice was firm. You showed us what you really think of humanity. That knowledge can't be unknown. We know now that we were never truly welcome here. We were tolerated as long as we knew our place. She looked around the chamber one final time, memorizing faces of beings she had once called friends. Remember, this day, she said quietly. But every translator carried her words. You didn't banish humanity from the galaxy. You freed us from the illusion that we belonged at this table. The human delegation walked toward the exit. No one tried to stop them. The guards stood aside, uncertain. This wasn't the dramatic confrontation they had prepared for. At the doorway, Huna turned back once more. The entire council watched in stunned silence. We came to you as children seeking guidance among the stars. You should have been teachers. Instead, you chose to be jailers. Now we leave as adults to find our own. Wait, she paused, her final words hanging in the air. Farewell, and thank you for showing us who we really are. The humans left the chamber. Behind them, arguments erupted. Some species called for military action. Others urged reconciliation. A few, quietly, began reconsidering their own positions within the council. In the human embassy, bags were already packed. Staff members moved with military precision. Decades of diplomatic presence being erased in hours. Huna stood at her office window one last time. Below, alien crowds gathered, watching the human withdrawal with confusion and concern. Any regrets? Minjae asked, joining her. Many, she admitted, but not about this decision. We tried to be what they wanted. Now we'll be what we are. And what are we? Huna smiled, a real smile this time. Free, unbound, human. Within 6 hours, the last human ship left council space. The embassy stood empty. The human section of the Great Table remained vacant. And across the galaxy, on 1,000 human worlds, people looked up at the stars with new eyes, not as subjects of a galactic order, but as architects of their own destiny. The greatest journey in human history hadn't ended. It had just begun. 6 months had passed since humanity left the Galactic Council. The Great Table still had an empty section where the human delegation once sat. No species had claimed it. Some said it was cursed. Others whispered it was being kept empty in hope of humanity's return. The High Chancellor floated in his private chamber, studying reports that made no sense. Every prediction had been wrong. Every model had failed. The Council's best scientists had calculated that human colonies would collapse within 3 months. Without alien support, they were thriving. Impossible, the Vortanian muttered, his energy form flickering with confusion. He opened another report. Trade Minister Zektel of the Klaxian Hive entered the chamber, his 6 legs clicking nervously on the polished floor. High Chancellor, we have a problem. Another one. The Chancellor's form dimmed with exhaustion. What now? The Bendithi are reporting strange signals from the Orion border. Ships that don't match any known design. They think they're human. The Chancellor brightened with interest. Human ships in distress. Are they requesting help? No. Zito clicked his mandibles anxiously. They're not in distress. They're mining. In the dead zone. The Chancellor's form nearly went dark with shock. The dead zone. That area has radiation levels that would kill any known species in ours, apparently not humans. Zito replied. They've established 3 mining stations and a processing facility. Our scouts report they're extracting minerals we thought were impossible to reach. The Chancellor floated to his viewing screen, calling up images from the Bendathi scouts. The human ships looked different from before, sleeker, more advanced. Strange energy fields surrounded them. How? He whispered. Similar reports came from across the galaxy. Human colonies appearing on worlds the Council had declared uninhabitable. Trade routes operating without Council navigation beacons. Technologies that shouldn't exist yet. On the Shardling homeworld, Ambassador Kexiton presented his findings to the Crystal Council. Human space has gone dark to our sensors, he chimed, his crystalline body resonating with worry. But Merchant, captains tell strange stories. Human worlds surrounded by defense networks we don't understand. Cities built in places we said were impossible. Propaganda, another Shardling replied. They want us to think they're strong. Kexiton produced a small device. This came from a trader who met humans near the Spiral Nebula. It's a medical scanner. Our scientists say it's 50 years ahead of Council technology. The Crystal Council fell silent. If humans were advancing this quickly in isolation, what would they be like in another 50 years? Captain Jian Kim stood on the bridge of the exploration vessel New Horizon. Through the viewscreen, she watched her crew deploy another quantum beacon. These new devices didn't need Council networks. They created their own navigation system, one that non-human ships couldn't access. Beacon 779 active, reported her navigation officer. The Jade Route is now fully mapped, Jian smiled. The Jade Route was a path through supposedly impassable cosmic storms. The Council had tried for centuries to chart it and failed. Humans had done it in 3 months, a captain. Her communications officer called out. We're being scanned, Nyx patrol. 3 ships, let them look, Jian ordered. We're in unclaimed space. The Nyx ships approached slowly. On her screen, Jian could see their weapon systems active, but not targeting. They were nervous. A communication request blinked. Jian accepted it. Human vessel. The Nyx commander's translated voice hissed through the speakers. This region is dangerous. You should not be here. We appreciate your concern. Jian replied, politely. But we're fine. The cosmic storms will destroy your ship. As if on cue, a massive energy wave rolled through space. The Nyx ships immediately retreated to safe distance. The New Horizon simply adjusted its shields and continued working. How? The Nyx commander whispered, forgetting the channel was still open. Jian closed the connection without answering. Let them wonder. Back in Council space, emergency sessions had become weekly events. Each meeting brought new reports of human achievements. That shouldn't be possible. The ancient Zalathi, who rarely spoke in Council, finally broke their silence. You fools, the elder being rumbled, its 1,000-year-old voice carrying wisdom and disappointment. You have made the greatest error in galactic history. The Council turned to listen. The Zalathi were the oldest spacefaring race. Observers of countless civilizations, we have protected our interests, the High Chancellor protested. You have created what you feared. The Zalathi continued. Humans at the Council table were partners. Bound by laws and agreements, humans alone are pioneers, inventors, survivors. You didn't limit them. You unleashed them. What do you mean? Asked the Bendathi ambassador. The Zalathi's ancient eyes seemed to see through time itself. For 50 years, humans held back. They followed our rules, accepted our limits, moved at our pace. We were the chains on their potential. Now those chains are gone. The Council fell silent as understanding dawned. They're not struggling without us. The Zalathi concluded. They're soaring. Dr. Park Sunwoo stood in her laboratory on New Sol Station, humanity's new capital in deep space. Around her, human and AI researchers worked on projects that would have been banned under Council law. Genesis Protocol is ready for testing, her assistant announced. Sunwoo nodded. The Genesis Protocol was a terraforming system that could transform dead worlds in months instead of centuries. The Council had feared such technology, worried about its environmental impact. Humans had solved the problems in 6 months of unrestricted research. Begin small-scale test on asteroid 774, she ordered through the lab windows. She watched the asteroid begin to change. Rock became soil. Atmosphere formed from nothing. Within hours, the first plants were growing. It works, she whispered. Then louder, it works. Her team erupted in celebration. Another impossible breakthrough. Another step toward a future the Council couldn't imagine. In the empty halls of the old human embassy on the Council capital world, Security Chief Velter made his weekly inspection. The Bendithi officer had volunteered for this duty, though he couldn't explain why. Everything remained as the humans had left it. Offices still contained personal items. The kitchen still had earth coffee in sealed containers. It felt like they might return any moment. In Ambassador Huna's office, Velter found something new. A message cube, appearing overnight despite all security measures. He activated it with trembling fins. Huna's image appeared, smiling warmly. "Hello, old friend. If you're seeing this, you're probably Velter. I knew you'd keep checking on our embassy. I wanted you to know we're doing well. Better than well. We're becoming what we were meant to be. Thank you for your friendship. Perhaps someday, when the council is ready to meet us as equals, we'll share coffee again. Until then, look to the stars. We're out there, building tomorrow." The message ended. Velter stood in the empty office, understanding finally dawning. The humans hadn't abandoned the galaxy. They had graduated from it. Outside, council space continued its ancient patterns. But in the dark between stars, humanity was writing a new chapter of galactic history. They had left as students. They were returning as masters. The silence wasn't empty, it was pregnant with possibility. 2 years after humanity's departure, the Galactic Council faced its darkest hour. The Skreth Empire, hidden beyond the galactic rim for millennia, had returned with massive fleets and weapons that turned planets to ash. The High Chancellor watched, helplessly as another council world fell. The holographic display showed Bendithi colonies burning, their defenders overwhelmed by Skreth technology, 14 systems lost in 2 months. Admiral Zekto reported, his antenna drooping with defeat. "Our combined fleets can't match their firepower. Send more ships," the Chancellor ordered, his energy form pale with exhaustion. "From where?" Zekto clicked sadly. "We've already pulled defenses from core worlds. The Skreth adapt to our tactics. Within hours, they learn faster than we can change." The Chancellor knew the truth they all avoided speaking. The Council military had grown soft, dependent on ancient strategies and rigid command structures. Innovation had died in committee meetings and bureaucratic approvals. Humans had been their wild card, their source of unexpected solutions. Now, that resource was gone. On the border of former human space, Captain Koval of the Skreth fleet studied his star charts. Empty sectors that once held human colonies were marked in red. His scouts had reported the areas deserted. The humans fled deeper into dark space. His lieutenant reported, "Should we pursue?" "No," Koval decided. "They're irrelevant. Focus on council worlds, softer targets." It was the last mistake he would ever make. 3 days later, the council received an unexpected message. Ambassador Kim Huna's face appeared on emergency channels across 50 worlds. "Members of the Galactic Council," she began, her voice carrying the same calm authority from years before. "We're aware of your situation with the Skreth Empire." The High Chancellor frantically tried to respond, but the message continued. It was a recording. "Despite our differences, we cannot watch billions die. Humanity offers assistance, but only if requested formally and publicly." The recording ended, leaving council chambers in chaos. "It's a trick," the Klaxian representative insisted. "They want us to beg." "Who cares?" the Bendithi ambassador bubbled desperately. "My homeworld burns. If begging saves lives, I'll beg." The vote was swift. Pride meant nothing when extinction knocked at the door. Within hours, the High Chancellor broadcast on all frequencies. "The Galactic Council formally requests human assistance against the Skreth invasion." The response came immediately. This time, it was live. Admiral Lee Minjae appeared on screen, but he looked different. His uniform bore symbols the council didn't recognize. Behind him stood humans in similar uniforms, their faces calm and confident. "Request acknowledged," Minjae said simply, transmitting coordinates. "Council fleets should withdraw to these positions immediately." "Why?" demanded Zekto. "Those coordinates are in empty space. They won't be empty for long." Minjae replied cryptically. "You have 6 hours." The council had no choice but to trust. Their battered fleets retreated to the specified coordinates, deep in space between star systems. Then they waited. Captain Koval laughed when he received reports of the council retreat. "They run to empty space. Pathetic. All ships, prepare for final assault on their core worlds." The Skreth fleet, 2,000 ships strong, moved toward the council's heart. Victory seemed certain. Then space itself seemed to tear open. Human ships emerged from nowhere, not the vessels the council remembered, but something entirely new. They moved like liquid mercury, their hulls shifting and adapting. Energy shields unlike anything in council databases surrounded them, leading the fleet. was a massive ship that dwarfed even Skreth dreadnoughts. Its name, written in bold human letters, was visible to every sensor. Endeavor. Captain Jian Kim stood on Endeavor's bridge, humanity's entire fleet at her command. 2 years of unlimited development had created wonders the Council couldn't imagine. All ships, execute Prometheus Protocol, she ordered. The human fleet moved with perfect coordination. Ships merged and separated like living beings. Weapons fired beams that bent space itself. Skreth shields, designed to stop Council weapons, offered no protection. The battle lasted 3 hours. When it ended, the Skreth fleet was gone. Not retreated. Not damaged. Gone. Erased from space as if they had never existed. Captain Koval's final transmission was picked up by Council receivers. What are you? The answer came from Jian herself. Human. In the aftermath, Council leadership gathered. On New Sol Station. The structure dwarfed anything they had built. A city in space that housed millions. Ambassador Huna greeted them in a conference room with walls of transparent aluminum. Through them, the delegates could see human space. Ships moved everywhere. Structures that defied physics floated serenely. Worlds that had been barren now bloomed with life. How? The High Chancellor's first word in human space was a question. Huna smiled. Older now but with eyes that sparkled with achievement. You gave us the greatest gift possible. You forced us to rely on ourselves. She activated a holographic display, showing human development over 2 years, without Council restrictions. We abandoned old assumptions. Why follow your FTL methods when we could develop quantum tunneling? Why accept your terraforming limitations when we could rewrite DNA itself? Why use your weapons when we could manipulate fundamental forces? The Shardling ambassador chimed in amazement. You advanced centuries in 2 years? We stopped trying to fit in. Admiral Minjay explained. Started being ourselves. Humans don't just adapt to environments, we transform them. We don't just use tools, we become something new with each invention. And the Skreth? Zektel asked nervously. Gone. Jian answered, joining the group. Their empire, their fleets, their threat. We didn't defeat them, we removed them from existence. A species that builds its culture on destroying others has no place in our galaxy. The word hung in the air. Our galaxy. The Zalathi Elder, present as an observer, spoke for the first time. You've become what we feared. The dominant power. No, Huna corrected gently. We've become what you prevented us from being. Partners, protectors, pioneers. She looked at each delegate. The question now isn't whether you'll accept us. It's whether we'll accept you. The High Chancellor's form flickered with understanding. You're offering us membership in your alliance. We're offering you a choice, Huna replied. Join us as equals in building a better galaxy, or maintain your old ways in your corner of space. We won't force you, but we won't be held back either, she gestured to the stars beyond the windows. We've started something new. Dozens of species you deemed too primitive or too dangerous have joined us. We're exploring dimensions you thought were mathematical fantasies. We're building futures you couldn't imagine. Commander Choi Tae-yun, now wearing an admiral's insignia, added the final truth. 2 years ago, you thought you were putting us in our place. Instead, you showed us we had no place among you, so we made our own. The delegation exchanged glances. The choice was obvious. Join humanity's explosive growth or watch from the sidelines. As the galaxy transformed without them, one by one, they agreed. The old council was dead. Something new was being born. As the meeting ended, Huna stood at the window, watching human and alien ships working side by side. The great table sat empty in the abandoned council chambers, a monument to fear and missed opportunities. Here, in human space, there were no tables, only circles where all species stood as equals, facing outward toward infinite possibilities. The galaxy had watched in dread as humanity abandoned the table. Now it watched in awe as humanity built a better future. The stars themselves seemed to shine brighter, welcoming their newest architects. Humanity hadn't conquered the galaxy. They had liberated it, and this was just the beginning.